right, hello, hello. This is Coach McCarthy. We are talking about personal finance. 9.1, we talked about the IRA and what it makes up. We talk about the both traditional and the Roth. Traditional IRAs and 401ks going to be for the most part the same thing. Traditional is the tax deduction for the year in which it was made. So you're paying taxes on it when you take it out. Okay, and that's really the thing. We talked about trying to pay taxes later when you don't make as much money. And then Roth is you're going to pay taxes on it now, but not later. So, got to know those two main differences. You're going to hear those terms thrown around a lot, a traditional 401k or a Roth 401k or IRA, but know what those differences are. And then on top of that, understand the difference between an IRA and the 401k. The IRA, much lower, all right, that you can put in. They both you have to take the money out at a certain age, and they do both have required minimum distributions. Okay. The IRA, you're in charge of that. You can kind of do with it as you please. And then the 401, that's what your employer is going to be matching with you. So your employer is going to have a little bit more of a say over how that money gets spent, where it gets placed. And they may only offer certain things for you to invest in. Cool thing about the 401k, a lot higher limit. So as you can see, we're 19, almost $20,000 that you can put in, and your employer is going to match that contribution. The other thing you got to know about 401ks is the vesting part. Okay, that you have your money. So moving on, we look at number three. Discuss the nature of retirement planning. So we click on our link. That's going to take us to the googly moogly, and several articles about retirement planning. And a lot of these are going to be a lot of the same information. They're all pretty good. ARP is for old people, so that's a good one to go through and look at. So the things we definitely need to talk about, and Investopedia talks about their steps to retirement. And I thought I had that one open, but this one was good too. I'm going to copy this one. This is CNBC. So we'll add this one to our list here. We have an Investopedia one. But they're all pretty much going to focus on the same things. So, letter C, and it's not a morbid way, but how long are you going to live? If you're retiring at 50, you have to be able to plan your money out for how you're going to take it out and how long you think you're going to live for. If you happen to get lucky and retire at 50 or 51 and start trying to draw some of your money, well, if you draw it out too early, you're not going to have any left. So you got to kind of balance out keeping some of that money in there. And that brings up letter D. How long will your money last? You may see that you have $1 million in retirement and think you're a rich person, but in all reality, if you live another 20 or 30 years past retirement, that money's going to dwindle pretty fast. So you got to know that part, and those two kind of go together. So when you start doing that retirement, you're kind of planning out. I expect to live for another X amount of years, and I want my money to last for that amount of years. So you're going to figure out how much you're going to be pulling out of your retirement. So, and that's a big part of your monthly and yearly budget, which we've talked about. How much money do you need to survive with? So you know how much you're going to pull out. Then you kind of know maybe how much it's going to last or how long it's going to last for. And when you start taking that money out, you want to be careful because you're going to be paying taxes on some of it. So this is what we talked about before with knowing your tax liability. You don't want to be taking out so much money that you're putting yourself in a high tax bracket where you're paying a higher percentage. So you got to understand those tax brackets and those tax liabilities and how that's going to have implications on you. You don't want to be a situation where you're paying a lot of taxes if you don't have to be. And moving through it, we have as always, with anything, your risk. How risky do you want to be with your retirement? And that's to each their own. If you want to live safe and make sure you have plenty of money towards the end, or you want to take your money now, and that's something that you will make those decisions, and you will make that with your spouse and with your family when the time comes. And then letter H is estate planning. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in the next unit. But knowing what's going to happen when your end of days does arrive, and unfortunately, that does happen for all of us. So we got to know how we're going to handle those kind of things. And then letter I, start planning for retirement as soon as you can take advantage of the power of compounding. And I'm going to add in there interest. And we talked about interest on interest and being able to make the money and letting your money work for you. So the more money you can get in there, the better off that you're going to be. So start that retirement as soon as you can, and as soon as you can put money away, because there's going to be times in your life where you might not be able to put any away, and You won't. And there'll be other times where you have excess of money. And in those points and times, you got to think about, well, do you want to spend it now or do you want to put it away so that you have money for your retirement later on? And that's kind of the whole premise of the nature of retirement planning is that you're getting your check today and you got to figure out, do you want to spend it all now and not have anything later? Do you want to work until you're 70? Do you want to work every day of your life? Or do you want to be able to retire and not have to work? So those are all decisions that you're going to have to make with your spouse and with your family of what's going to be best for you guys. And that's the nature of your retirement. That's how you're going to figure out, well, what's going to happen. Um, so we look at our websites, and like I said, a lot of them probably going to be pretty close to the same. This is CNBC, so I think this is this link right here, letter B. And just wanted to show you guys because we talked about these before. You got to think about housing costs, inflation, how things are going to go up, life insurance, gas. I mean, there's a whole lot of different things you really got to think about when you start talking about it. So this is our comparison chart where we talked about the IRA, the Roth IRA, 401k, the Roth 401k. We didn't quite get into simple IRA or SEP. So these are some other programs you can get into. But you can see, pre-tax, post-tax, and that's the Roth is post. Tax upon withdrawal, those are your pre-tax things. We talked about contribution limits, the IRA and the 401k, and these are obviously a little bit higher. Limits for people that are 50, the taxes that you get hit, when you have to start taking it out. So I thought this was pretty good because it gives a visual for a lot of the information that we talked about. And talks about, what investments you should use, whether it's a 401 or IRA or what's going to be best for you. And we kind of talked about those before, but that is a part of when we come back to our document, that is, part of the nature of your retirement planning. What do you want to put your money in? Do you want to put it in 401ks? Do you want to put it in IRAs? Do you want to try and just put it in the stock market and get lucky? Not that I recommend that one, but that's an option, I guess, just the same. So like I said, as you get older, you'll start to have those conversations with your spouse and trying to decide what's going to be best for you and your family moving forward.